The pause before winter brought a pivot. More sales, higher prices, and one rule change that rewrites how Massachusetts buys a home. Start with the frame. In September 2020-05, single-family closings across Massachusetts reached 3,769, up 8% from the 3,489 finished in September 2024. In that same month, the median single-family sale landed at $625,000, up 4.2% year over year. Zoom out to the first 9 months of 25, and 31,980 single-family homes changed hands statewide, a 3% increase from the same stretch in 2024. The median price over those 9 months rose to $640,000, also up 3%. Then came October. Single-family closings hit 3,921, up 5.6% year over year, as the median for those deals ticked to $660,000, a 2.3% gain. Condos told a quieter story. In October, closed sales slipped 1.1%, even as the median condo price rose to $549,900, up 2.8%. All of this unfolded while industry voices still called out ongoing inventory challenges. But one policy changed the chessboard. As of October 15th, Massachusetts banned the practice of waiving home inspections to win a bidding war. Sellers can no longer condition a sale on a buyer skipping that step, and buyers are prohibited from offering to waive it. Lawmakers finalized those rules in June as part of the Affordable Homes Act, arguing inspections are essential to uncover repairs, identify safety issues, avoid unexpected expenses, and arrive at a fair price. Even as this rule took effect on October 15th, the market had already been evolving. Sales cooled from the white-hot pace of recent years, but prices still advanced. $625,000 in September, $640,000 across the first 9 months, and $660,000 for October's single-family median. The inspection ban codifies a more deliberate rhythm that many buyers and sellers were already adopting. Why the pivot? Signals point to an unusual combination: a recent mortgage rate cut, a touch more inventory, and the calendar's march toward year-end nudged buyers and sellers into a slower, more thoughtful market. Then came a jolt. Mortgage rates jumped after the Federal Reserve Chair said a December rate cut may not happen. That cross-current cuts, anticipated by some, then cast into doubt, coincided with a market that still delivered 3,769 closings in September and 3,921 in October, while asking buyers to weigh $549,900 median condo prices and $660,000 single-family medians, with new inspection requirements on every accepted offer after October 15th. If you want to see the shift up close, drive down to Falmouth. In September, the median sale price there hit $975,000 across 42 closed sales, nearly a 33% jump from the prior September. Look at the year-to-date, and the average home cost in Falmouth stood at $819,500, up 11% compared to the same period in 2024. Head east to Barnstable, and the story braids into 6 village-level threads. In Barnstable proper, the median went from $810,000 in September 2024 to $775,000 in September 2025. Cotuit swung sharply, from $1.60 in September 2024 to $905,000 in September 2025. Centerville rose from $603,000 to $650,000. Hyannis edged up from $527,750 to $550,000. Marston's Mills eased from $556,000 to $520,000. Osterville cooled from $1.40 to $1.16 million. On one peninsula, 6 outcomes. Across one state, a cohesive direction. More homes sold, 3,769 in September, 1,980 year-to-date, at prices that continue to climb statewide, $620,000 in September, $640,000 across 9 months, $660,000 in October, while local currents pulled some zip codes down and others higher. To understand the prices beneath those medians, trace the contour of typical home values, a gauge of what a home is worth in a specific town after filtering short-term noise. In Norwell, the typical home value clocked in at $1,276, $653 in September, up by $53,660 in 1 year, a 5.5% gain, and up by $368,108 over 5 years, or 55.8%. Egremont sat at $805,000, a 1-year increase of $51,686, or 6.9%, and a 5-year surge of $1,259, or 73.6%. Weston rose to $2,220,602, notching a $48,044 gain in 12 months, 2.2%, at $830,265 over 5 years, 59.9%. Wenham reached $1,040,132, up $46,683 year over year, 4.7%, and $383,462 across 5 years, 58.4%. Manchester by the Sea stood at $1,282.886, a 1-year climb of $46,657.270, and a 5-year rise of $473,998.58, 1%. Wellesley at $1,969,343, added $42,206 in a year, 2.2%, and $640,686 over 5 years, 48.2%. Lincoln ran to $1,518,768, up $36,647 in 1 year, 2.5%, and $515,631 in 5 years, 51.4%. Sherborne at $1,209,864, gained $35,985 year over year, 3.1%, and $391,299 across 5 years, 47.8%. Dover at a $746,599, advanced by $35,329, 2.1% in 12 months, and by $554,678, 46.5% since 5 years prior. Concord landed at $1,430, $337, up $34, $801, 2.5% over 1 year, and $510,690, $655.0. Move into Newton, where the typical value reached $1,499,949.34, $506 higher than 12 months earlier, a 2.4% gain after adding $417,544 across 5 years, a 38.6% growth. Boxford charted $1,477, with a $33,762 annual increase, 3.3%, and a $346,856 5-year lift, 49.5%. Look west to Stockbridge, $738,102, up $26,652 year over year, 3.7%, and up $283,840 over 5 years, 62.5%. In Lexington, values hit $1,561,212, rising $26,790, 1.7% in a year, and $485,894, 45.2% over 5. Duxbury climbed to $1,078,765, a $24,087 1-year gain, 2.3%, and a $410,180 5-year gain, 61.4%. Essex pushed to $899,407, adding $24,711 in 1 year, 2.8% and $302,000 $208.550.6%. Andover reached $980,270 with a $22,976 annual change, 2.4% and a $326,789 5-year change, 50.0%. Westwood sat at $1,211,197, up $23,479 in a year, 2.0% and $400,772 in 549.5%. Needham set $1,513,544, adding $22,323, 1.5% in a year, and $486,630, 47.4% in 5 years. Newbury charted $925,253 with $22,306 year over year, 2.5%, and $332,660 over 5 years, 56.1%. Head inland to Methuen, $609,720, a 1-year change of $20,348, and a 5-year move of $190, $7,928, 48.1%. Longmeadow hit $522,062 with a $20,563 annual change, 4.1%, and a $159,919 5-year change, 44.2%. Adams, at $263,580, saw a $20,736 1-year jump, 8.5%, and a $105,680 5-year climb, 66.9%. West Stockbridge was $670,106, up $20,213, 3.1% in a year, and $278,653.71 over 5. Cohasset at $1,390,509, tacked on $28,174, 2.1% in a year, and $480, $7,260, $53 and 5. Gloucester, 759027, added $37,224, 4.1% in a year, and $263, $332, 50 11 cents in 5. Mount Washington stood at $621,035, a $30,308 annual move, 5.1%, and $204,941 over 549.3%. Marblehead at $1,024,000, notched $19,000, $2.01.9% in a year, and $305,605.42 in 5. Situate, $976,398, rose by $20,586, 2.2% in 12 months, and by $337,741, 52.9% in 5 years. Winchester, $514,768, added $19,899, 1.3% year over year, and $430,939, and across 5 years. The list goes on, and it matters because it shows how localized pricing interacts with statewide totals. In Norwell, a $52,660 yearly increase on $1,027 base represents different headwinds and tailwinds than a $20,736 annual shift in Adams on a $263,580 base. Yet both contribute to the statewide median of $625,000 in September and $660,000 for October's single-family deals. These local values also explain why some Barnstable villages slid Cotuit from $1.60 to $905,000 in Osterville from $1.40 million, while Centerville rose from $603,000 to $650,000, and Hyannis from $527,750 to $550,000. The state can post 31,980 sales in 9 months, while a village like Marston's Mills eases from $556,000 to $520,000, and another, like Barnstable, declines from $810,000 to $775,000. Place these Massachusetts numbers against a national touchstone. In September, the typical home value across the United States was $364,891, essentially flat year over year at 0.0% growth. That $364,891 national figure sits well below the $625,000 median sale price for a Massachusetts single-family home in September, and even further below the $660,000 median for October's single-family closings. That spread underscores how the Bay State's constrained inventory and concentrated demand produce an outsized price level, even as the market cools into a more contemplative mode. The inspection rule is more than a footnote. In the red-hot years, many buyers felt pressure to waive inspections entirely. With the new statewide mandate that took effect on October 15th, those waivers are off the table. Buyers must be allowed to conduct an inspection. Sellers and agents cannot condition a deal on skipping it. Buyers cannot offer to waive it to leapfrog competitors. The regulation, finalized in June within the Affordable Homes Act, aims to prevent hidden repair costs and ensure safety issues are caught before closing. Now consider that in October, single-family closings still reached 3,921, up 5.6% from a year earlier, and the median for those homes settled at $660,000. Layer an inspection into nearly 4,000 closings statewide in that month, and you get the cadence of a market that moves but pauses to look: $549,900 median condo transactions with 1.1% fewer closings, and $660,000 single-family deals with 5.6% more closings, all under the same inspection umbrella. The why behind a shift like this, at least for now, sits at the intersection of policy, rates, and supply. A recent mortgage rate cut provided a nudge, increased inventory added choice in some segments, and the end-of-year calendar introduced a deadline psychology: close in September, get keys by October, get settled before holidays. Signals suggest that these three forces encouraged measured decisions instead of frenzied bidding. Then, when the Federal Reserve Chair said a December rate cut may not happen, mortgage rates jumped. Buyers who saw a rate cut and then saw that possibility questioned had to recalibrate in real time. Yet in September, 3,769 single-family closings completed. In October, 3,921 closed, and across the first 9 months, 31,980 moved from listed to sold, with median prices at $625,000 in September and $640,000 for the 9-month period. On the ground, the market looks like this. In Falmouth, 42 homes sold in September at a $970 median, nearly a one-third jump from the prior September, while the year-to-date average cost was $819,500, an 11% gain. In Barnstable, the median fell from $810,000 to $775,000. In Cotuit, from $1.60 to $905,000. In Osterville, from $1.40 million to $1.16 million. That's 3 village-scale drops. But Centerville rose from $603,000 to $650,000. Hyannis rose from $527,750 to $550,000. That's 2 neighboring upticks. Meanwhile, statewide medians climbed $625,000 in September, $640,000 for the first 9 months, $660,000 in October, and statewide closings increased. 3,769 in September and 31,980 through September, while condos saw 1.1% fewer closed deals in October despite a $549,900 median price. The values map out a second way to read the state. Take Wenham at $1,040,000, $132, adding $46,683 in 1 year. Manchester at $1,280, adding $46,650, adding $46,650, and Weston at $2,220,602, adding $48,044. Those are affluent towns with modest percentage changes: 4.7% in Wenham, 3.8% in Manchester, 2.2% in Weston, but large dollar movements. Contrast that with Adams at $263,580, whose $20,736 jump translates to an 8.5% surge, or Egremont at $8,500, whose $51,686 gain is 6.9%. In the mid-tier, West Bridgewater at $585,000, $266 grew by $19,315, 3.4%. Methuen at $609,720 by $20,000, $348 $2,674 by $18,765, 4.6%. The distribution of dollar and percentage changes, town by town, explains why statewide totals can keep rising while some places stabilize or pull back. The 5-year arc reinforces that view. Since 5 years ago, Egremont's typical home value is up 73.6%, or $341,259. West Stockbridge is up 71.2%, or $278,253. Duxbury is up 61.4%, or $410,180. Weston is up 59.9%, or $832,165. Wenham is up 58.4%, or $383,462. Manchester is up 58.1%, or $473,998. Concord is up 55.0%, or $510,696. And Norwell is up 55.8%, or $368,108. Meanwhile, Marblehead's 5-year gain of 42.5% $305,605 Newtons of 38.6 to $417,534, and Winchester's of 39.8% $901 sit near the lower end of Boston area growth for this period. That 5-year spread shows how deep the pricing bedrock has set, even as September's statewide median was $625,000, and October's hit $660,000 for single-family sales. Under the new inspection rule, process matters. A buyer who once might have waived inspections to win at $650,000 in Centerville must now schedule, conduct, and respond to an inspection. That offers protection. Uncovering a structural issue before closing could save tens of thousands of dollars in repair surprises, but it can lengthen the timeline. Signals suggest that the bogeyman of waived inspections had already receded as sales cooled, even while prices climbed. But the codification on October 15th removes ambiguity. It affects every dollar figure already mentioned. $625,000 in September, $640,000 through 9 months, $660,000 in October, $542,900 for condos, because each of those closings includes or will include an inspection step. Rates and inventory weave into that. The comment that a December rate cut may not happen injected momentum into mortgage rates at the exact moment buyers were processing a recent cut. Increased inventory in some segments created breathing room, but ongoing inventory challenges kept pressure on prices reflected in the $625,000 September median and the $660,000 October median. The result is a market that in September delivered 3,769 closings, in October delivered 3,921, and year-to-date delivered 31,980, while forcing offer strategies to adapt. No more inspection waivers, and likely fewer appraisal gaps or financing gambits that rely on shaving days from contingencies. If you're making offers in Norwell at $1,273 typical values with $53,660 one-year gains, or in Adams at $263,580 with $20,736 one-year gains, the rules now frame your negotiation as much as the price history does. The micro and the macro converge along Route 128 and beyond. In Newton, a $1,499,949 typical value sits with a $34,506 one-year increase. In Lexington, $1,561,212 with $26,790. In Winchester, $514,768 with $19,899. In Wellesley, $1,969,343 with $42,000. In Weston, $2,220,602 with $48,000. $44. Out on the North Shore, Marblehead's $1,244,768 typical value and $19,002 annual increase meet Gloucester's $759,274.30 of $4. South of Boston situates $976,398 and $20,586. Duxbury's $1,078,765 and $24,087. Norwell's $1,027,653, $660. Westward, Longmeadow's $522,060 with a $20,563 one-year move, and Easthampton's $422,674 with an $18,765 gain. In Pittsfield's orbit, Adams at $263,580 with $20,736 year over year. West Stockbridge at $670,106 with $20,213. And Stockbridge at $738,102 with a $26,652 climb. Each of those dollar moves happened within the same September that saw a $625,000 median sale price statewide, and the same October that saw $660,000 for single-family closings. Falmouth's surge and Barnstable's divergence show how local demand can rise even as some coastal enclaves soften. A $975,000 median across 42 sales in Falmouth, up nearly 33% year over year, with an $819,500 year-to-date average up 11%, stands next to Cotuit's $905,000 September sale median, down from $1.60 million, Osterville's $1.16 million, down from $1.40 million, and Marston's Mill's $520,000, down from $556,000. Centerville at $650,000, up from $603,000, and Hyannis at $550,000, up from $527,750. Highlight price, resilience, and affordability relative to $1,969,343 in Wellesley, or $2,220,602 in Weston. In a state where the national typical value sits at $364,891 in Massachusetts, medians are $625,000 and $660,000 for September and October single-family deals, the Cape's mosaic becomes the bellwether of how far buyers will stretch and where they hold back. The more thoughtful market is visible in the October split between single-family and condos. Single-family closed sales grew 5.6% year over year to 3,921. Condo closed sales slipped 1.1%. Yet condo median prices rose to $549,900, up 2.8%, while single-family medians rose to $660,000, up 2.3%. Those are narrow growth bands, more measured than the pandemic spike, and consistent with towns where one-year moves are 2.0% in Rockport, 2.6% in Danvers at $721,646, 3.0% in Grafton at $600,841, 2.8% in Ashland at $667, $142, or 2.9% in Sutton at $627, $201. It's the difference between a $17,210 year-over-year increase in Rockport to $862,054 and a $53,660 jump in Norwell to $1,207,653. Smaller annual changes are the new norm in many places, while a handful still post outsized dollar gains. Inventory, while still described as a challenge, appears to have loosened in places where values move modestly. West Bridgewater's $585,266 typical value with a $1,936 one-year increase suggests steady demand. Methuen's $609,720 with a $20,348 gain, steady demand. Pembroke's $648 with a $20,248. $314 with a $17,750 gain, measured demand. Rowley's $787,048 with $18,492 modest demand. The caution is clear. Even modest demand at price levels like $1,000, $211,197 in Westwood, or $1,000, $513,544 in Needham can keep statewide medians elevated at $625,000 and $660,000, especially if inventory growth is uneven and closings continue at 3,769 in September and 3,921 in October. The inspection rule's practical effect shows up in offer structures. Instead of spreadsheets engineered to remove contingencies, buyers will absorb inspection timelines into their calculus. It's one more variable alongside a mortgage rate path that first offered a cut, then served a warning that December might not bring another. It's a familiar fight for risk in unfamiliar clothes. For a buyer in Sherborne weighing a $209,864 typical value, and a $35,985 one-year increase against a $549,900 condo median, and a 1.1% dip in condo closings, the inspection will likely govern not only price but sequencing, when to schedule, what to request, which repairs to ask for. Sellers, too, are recalibrating. Pre-inspections and repair credits may become standard strategy at $650,000 in Centerville or at $1,439,000, $307 in Concord. Who gains, who loses? Buyers benefit from the inspection mandate when unforeseen expenses are significant. Consider a $46,683 annual increase in Wenham to $1,040, $132 against a hidden $20,000 repair, an inspection that reveals it protects equity before it exists. Sellers benefit in markets where values continue to climb. Wellesley up $42,206 to $1,000, $969,343. Weston up $42,044 to $2,000, $220,602, because clarity, even when it yields a repair credit, can support a premium closing. The risk sits in longer timelines. If the market is closing 3,769 single-family homes in September and 3,921 in October, any friction that extends average days from accepted offer to closing may show up in seasonal dips. Signals suggest the timing of the October 15th rule, right as the year winds down, could delay some closings into November and December, but the statewide numbers, $660,000 for October's single-family median, 5.6% growth in single-family closings, indicate throughput remains intact. The extremes add texture. In Dover, a $1,746,599 typical value and a $35,329 one-year gain represent one tier. In Rockport, a $862,054 typical value and a $17,210 year-over-year change, another. In Adams, $23,000 typical value to Edgecate, $95,000, $2,500, a $263,580 typical value, and an 8.5% one-year jump, the largest percentage among cited towns yet, still the lowest absolute price, yet adding $105,680 over 5 years. In Cohasset, $1,390,509 with a $28,174 annual change. In Marshfield, $774, $194, with a $19,792 annual change. In Scituate, $976,398 with $20,586. In Manchester, $1,289,884 with $46,657. Each community's figure slots into a Massachusetts median that in September equals $625,000 and in October for single-family deals equals $660,000. Each belongs to a statewide sales tempo that in September closed 3,769 and across 9 months closed 31,980. Think of the 5-year lens again. In Mount Washington, $621,030 to $5 with a 241 5-year gain 49.3%. In Berlin, $655,080 to $5 with a $192,666 5-year gain 43.5%. In Methuen, $609,720 with a $197,928 5-year gain 48.1%. In West Newbury, $942,399 with a $321,613 5-year gain 51.8%. In Topsfield, $961,242 with a $306,852 5-year gain 46.9%. In Danvers, $721,646 with a $202,139 5-year gain 38.9%. In Hamilton, $878,00754 with a $260,228 5-year gain 42.1%. In Pembroke, $648,314 with a $198,723 5-year gain 44.2%. These 5-year patterns show a durable staircase even as monthly changes slow to 2.0% in Rockport, 2.8% in Pembroke, 3.4% in West Bridgewater, 2.6% in Marshfield, 2.1% in Topsfield. The staircase meets the inspection rule and the rate path at a landing. Stability built over 5 years can tolerate a pause for an inspection and a quarter-point swing in mortgages better than a zip code without that equity foundation. The broader context is stark. The United States in September posted a typical home value of $364,891 with 0.0% year-over-year growth. Massachusetts posted a $625,000 median single-family sale price for that same month, a 4.2% increase. In October, Massachusetts single-family closings crested at 3,921 with a $660,000 median. Condos in October marked $549,900 with a 1.1% dip in closed sales. The national baseline at $3,640, $891 and zero growth underscores why an inspection rule matters more here. The financial stakes at $1,969,343 in Wellesley, or $2,000, $220,000, $602,000 in Weston, and the equity at risk at $1,819, $500 average in Falmouth year to date, up 11%, are materially different from a $364,891 national checkpoint. What comes next? The base case, built from the numbers in hand, is a Massachusetts market that stays deliberate through December 22nd, with 31,980 single-family closings in the first 9 months and medians of $625,000 in September and $660,000 in October. The path of least resistance is steady volume, measured price gains, and wider dispersion between towns. Signals suggest the inspection rule will keep negotiations sober, rates will continue to steer urgency. If the anticipated additional rate cuts materialize, the more thoughtful market could persist. with closings resembling September's 3,769 and October's 3,921, and medians remaining in tight bands like the 2.3% gain to $1,660,000 for single-family in October and the 2.8% gain to $549,900 for condos. Two watch items stand out. First, the rate path tied to December. The remark that a December rate cut may not happen pushed mortgage rates higher. If that stance holds or tightens, affordability will pinch faster in places like Norwell at $1,273 and Weston at $2,220,602 than in Adams at $263, $580 or Easthampton at $422,674. If it softens and rate cuts arrive, the recent mortgage rate cut effect that helped create a more thoughtful September could extend into early 2026, supporting volume near the 31,980 pace over 9 months without reigniting waived contingency bidding wars. Second, the inspection rules on the ground logistics. As of October 15th, inspections are mandatory. Signals suggest the market had already self-corrected away from waivers, but watch whether inspection findings translate into more repair credits, longer timelines, or renegotiations that move a closing from $650,000 to $640,000 in a given deal. In Barnstable's villages, where medians moved from $810,000 to $770 or from $1.60 million to $905,000, those negotiations could become the lever that shifts whether a seller lists now or waits. In Falmouth, where $975,000 across 42 sales met an $819,500 year-to-date average, those negotiations could set the ceiling for the next quarter. The market's center of gravity is clear. In September, 3,769 single-family homes sold in Massachusetts at a $625,000 median. In the first 9 months, 31,980 sold at a $640,000 median. In October, 3,921 single-family homes sold at a $660,000 median. Condos in October posted a $549,900 median with a 1.1% dip in closed sales. In Falmouth, $975,000 across 42 September sales. In Norwell, a $1,207,653 typical value, with a $53,660 one-year increase. In Egremont, $805,000 with a $51,686 one-year change and a $341,259 five-year change. In Weston, $2,220,602 with a $48,044 one-year move and an $832,065 five-year climb. In Wellesley, $1,969,343 with a $42,206 one-year move and a $640,686 five-year climb. In Adams, $263,580 with a $20,736 one-year move and a $105,680 five-year climb. And in Barnstable's villages, medians moving from $603,000 to $650,000 in Centerville and from $527,750 to $550,000 in Hyannis, while sliding from $1.40 million to $1.16 million in Osterville. If you're buying or selling in Massachusetts, the steps are set. Prices are rising, but slower. 2.3% in October's single-family median, 2.8% in October's condo median, 4.2% for September's single-family median year over year. Volume is back, but measured 3,769 in September, 3,921 in October, 31,980 through September. Inspections are mandatory as of October 15th. Rates are in play, with a recent cut cited as a factor in a calmer September and a warning that a December cut may not come pushing mortgage rates higher. Towns diverge. Norwell up $53,660 in a year, Wenham up $46,683, Manchester up $46,650, $7 Wellesley up $42,206, Adams up $20,736, Rockport up $17,210. 5-year gains lay the base. Egremont up 73.6%, West Stockbridge up 71.2%, Weston up 59.9%, Duxbury up 61.4%, Norwell up 55.8%. The outlook is disciplined. Through December 2022-5, expect a market that moves at the pace of inspections and rate shifts, not at the pace of waived contingencies. Watch December's rate decision and the early months of inspection-era closings for signs of tightening or easing. In the meantime, the numbers say this plainly: Massachusetts is still selling more homes. 3,769 in September and 31,980 through 9 months at higher prices. $625,000 in September and $660,000 in October, finding clarity one inspection at a time. If this helped you see the market with numbers instead of noise, share it with someone making a housing decision in Massachusetts.